Hello. Today we are going to talk about three important steps of root canal: uh, deroofing, locating canals or exploring canals, and removing dentinal triangle. I chose to talk about these three steps because, uh, speaking from my experience, I most of the mistakes I have made during root canals, I have made most of them in these three steps. So, and I wanted to share some of the things that I learned to avoid those mistakes, and hopefully these informations will come handy for those who are starting out, because I think most of the people who have been um, doing root canals or in practice for 2 or 3 years already know this stuff, whatever I'll be talking about in this video. So maybe mainly the students who are starting out as intern or starting their practice soon, they will get the most benefit out of this video. And I'll talk about some instruments that you can use in these three steps, about some planning, and hopefully this will come handy. Okay. um, Chronologically, the first thing you are going to do is anesthetize the tooth, of course. And if you adequately anesthetize, then uh, first of these three steps, deroofing, uh, will come first. So what you have to do is, as a beginner, always try to take pre-op x-ray, right? Preoperative x-rays are must. If your practice is, if you do not have an x-ray in your chamber, or it's far from where you practice, you can, and many of us do, but soon you will realize at the end of this video that why this is a risky business, starting a root canal without pre-op. Many of us do, and oftentimes you have to do, but if you can help it, please try to take a pre-op. So what really happens is that we all expect a tooth to look like this, right? uh, Let me get a pencil. Okay, so in our mind, a tooth always looks like this, right? With large pulp chamber, with uh, clean orifices, but that really doesn't happen, because most of the times there are difficulties like pulp stones, like in this x-ray, or obliterated pulp space due to secondary dentin formations. These kind of things happen, and when these happens, it becomes a judgment call for the dentist, to decide how you are going to work from there. In this video we will try to keep things simple, as we'll see how you can work on a simpler tooth like this one. All right, the first thing you will do is remove all the decay, right? All the decay. There should be no caries left when your access cavity is prepared. And in your mind, try to imagine how the pulp chamber ideally should be. Like in this picture, notice what the operator did. He removed all the decay, as you can see on the outline. Then he created a outline. Notice this. He created an outline, and you have to do exactly that. Create an outline how the pulp chamber ideally should be. then you have to get into the pulp chamber where you will feel a drop in. Okay, okay. Notice in this particular region the operator got his drop in, but and here you have to take a precaution, that is, try to get into the pulp chamber. Often what I have seen people do is that they try to get into the pulp chamber through the middle of the cavity. Do not do that. Imagine where the canals are ideally located. These three places. These will be your ideal places to get your that drop in feelings, because the reason is, if you look at the shape of the chamber, notice the distance between roof and the floor is greater in the regions of the canal. That means when you are getting that drop in, there is less risk of doing damage to the floor, because this tooth is ideal, right? But in reality, the tooth might be like this or like this one. So in these cases, as close as you will be to the canal orifices, the less likely it is that you will damage the floor. And once you have got in that drop-in feeling, it will be ideal if you have an Indus ZBar, this one right here. If you have an Indus ZBar, use that one to remove the rest of the roof, like the operator did in this photo. The reason is Indus ZBar has this non-cutting end, that is, you will not damage the floor with this Indus ZBar. That being said, you might not always have Indus ZBar at your disposal, right? You might not have bought it, or you may not have one that cuts very well. In the past and in the future, dentists will be using the standard round bar and fisher bar for deroofing. I personally used round bar a lot. As a dental surgeon, you have to be, remember this, you have to be masters of these two instruments. These are our bread and butter, and you have to be very efficient at using these two bars. And Indus ZBar is great if you have, but remember this, any instrument, any gadget is as good as its operator. That means if you handle an instrument roughly, it's not going to do a better job. You have to be the one in control, not the instrument itself. So if you do not have an Indus ZBar, don't get disheartened. Round bar and fisher bar works very well, and dentists have been using these two bars, and in future also be using these two bars for deroofing the pulp proof. Okay, once you have removed the roof, you will have exposed the pulp floor, right? And when an exposed pulp floor will look something like this. And then comes the difficult part, locating canals. How you can locate canals? Well, the thing is, remember that first of all you have to find the major canals, that is the big ones. So if you're working on a lower first molar, you will have to find those two mesials and one or two distals. Those will be the major canals. If you looking for additional canals, will come next, but first of all you have to find the major canals. If you are working in upper first molar, find those mesobuccal, distobuccal and palatal. Then you can go look for mesobuccal 2 or other additional canals. So where to look for them? Well, first of all, look at the pulpal floor, and just by looking, two things will give you clues as to where the canals are. Those two things are these: color and geography. Color is that simply by looking at the pulpal floor, you can see that there is a sharp color difference, right? Okay. The canals will be obviously located within the floor, but the major canals, the big ones, will be located in the joining line between this gray color and the white color. So let me make it thinner a little. So this is our floor, right? And say this outer regions is our wall, and the major canals will be located in the joining line of these two. What I mean is, don't look for a canal here, here, or here, or here, or here, or here. Look for the canal in along the line that is demarking this white and the black region, this along this line. I think this illustration will help you understand what I mean better. So imagine this box as a pulpal floor, right? So theoretically a canal may be located anywhere. There is no saying. A canal might open here, a canal might open here, 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 here. There is no saying. But that being said, the major canals tend to open in very specific locations. That is the joining of the wall and the pulpal floor. So if we differentiate between the walls, for example, this one is wall. If we say it number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So number 1 is pulpal wall, like, right? It can be for this particular case it's a distal. So let's say this part is mesial, so this is distal wall. Number 2 position is the floor. Number 3 position is the joining line between pulpal wall and floor. And number 4 position is a special one because it's a joining line of 3 pulpal walls, right? Number 1 is distal, number 2 is the floor, pulpal floor, and this one is, let's say, buccal or palatal, another wall. So a canal orifice might be anywhere, but there is a higher chance that among these 4 positions, number 1 might have a canal opening, but number 2 will have a higher chance. Number 3 will have even higher chance of having a canal orifice because it's the joining of 2 walls. Number 4 will have even more chances of having a canal orifice because it's the joining line of 1, 2 and 3. Well, okay, so let's say let's imagine this as a tooth in 3 dimension. So this is our mesial root and this is our distal root, right? So the highest chance of having a canal orifice is the number 4 position, and these are the number 4 positions. Even from distal. So when you are looking, you have to look in these regions, and if you look from the top, this is how it will look when you observe the pulpal floor. This will be your number 1 position, this will be 2, this one will be 3, and these are your number 4 position. The number 4 positions are the golden areas, and when you are done with this, then you can go look for minor canals, and minor canals can really have their orifices anywhere, but you will go as the rule of probability. They will probably be located in number 3 or number 2 positions. Okay, how to look for the canals? Well, the instrument of choice will be DG16 Explorer. DG16s have these two sharp ends that you can poke along the pulpal floor, and whenever you get a sticking feeling that it's sticking inside something, you know that there might be a canal there. Now DG16 is an expensive instrument. It's like about $20. That is so there is another instrument, DG1623. DG16 is difficult to get in mesial canals. As you can see, the angulation is about 120 degrees, and it's very easy to poke around distal canals, but when exploring the mesial canals, it gets a bit tricky. So there is another explorer, DG1623, which have a curved C-shaped exploring end that makes exploring the mesial canals easier. But if you notice that this instrument look very similar to our standard Caris probe, and that is interesting because you can actually use the standard Caris probe as an explorer. All you have to do is just bend this end with a tweezer so that the angulation becomes more than 90 degree, and you can easily explore the mesial and distal canals with it. And if you it's good if you get some DG16, but after some use the heads will lose sharpness and you will eventually have to buy a new one. But for the price of one DG16 you can get about 20 Caris probes. So getting Caris probes instead of DG16 is actually a better deal, and even if you have to throw away after a couple of use, still will be financially a viable option. Okay, after you have located the major canals, if you have time, go on looking for additional canals, no problem. But before you go on for looking additional canals, it will be a good idea to remove dentinal triangles. What are dentinal triangles? Well, if you look at this particular image, you will see that the area I marked red, these are the dentinal triangles. So what dentinal triangles do is that they prevent your files from having a straight line access. So for example, we want our files to go like this. Let's choose a different color. We want our files to go like that inside the canal. Yeah, but the dentinal triangle is on the way. So what will happen is that our file will go in like this, and that is a problem. That is a problem because this is not the only angulation. There can be further curvature along the canal, but um, a file, endodontic file, cannot really work too many curves at a time. It can better handle one or two curves at a time. At best, better to work one. So it will be a good idea to remove this triangle so that we can get a straight line access. Now, how to remove this dentinal triangle? In the past, dentists have been using Glades bar, and still do. They can be used in slow speed micromotor or endomotor, I think, and they come in serial numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6. You go on from smaller to larger, or you can go large to smaller. Both works fine. Additionally, you can alternatively you can use this orifice opener. Every file system, rotary file system, usually have an orifice opener. For example, this is ProTapper, and ProTapper have this file called SX. Every file system, major file system, will have an orifice opener, and these Glades bars are actually heads of Glades are actually incorporated into the curvature of this file. So if you use this file, it has a wider diameter. ProTapper, all the ProTappers have 6% diameter. The SX especially have an 8% diameter. Diameter means 8% tapper. Sorry, I misspoke. 8% tapper, and this high tapper does what? It actually removes, when you use this SX or in other orifice opener bars, this removes this dentinal triangle, and when they are gone, your file will actually have a straight line access. Now, if you do not have an endomotor, you can still use these files as an orifice opener. What you will have to do is you can buy these handles, hand file grips, and attach them with SX, and what you will have is an hand file. You can buy ProTapper hand files that has inbuilt handles. If you do not, or you want to try another rotary file system but you don't have endomotor, you can use these hand file grips. But you have to remember that endomotors have a built-in safety system, and rotary files actually are best to use with an endomotor. They are not suitable for hand use, and there are some risk of torsional fatigue, cyclic fatigue, and breakage of instrument if you use them by hand. I will talk about probably in another video about the risk of using hand file rotary files with hand. but you can use them. It's kind of a judgment call. You have to be careful and mimic that picking motion of endomotor with your hand. It's a bit difficult, but you can use it. Now, orifice opener have their own risks. That is, when you are removing that triangle, you have to remember that you have to be careful about this furcational area, furcal danger area. That is, in this tooth you cannot really see it because there are a lot of tooth material here, right? But not every tooth will be the same. This, for example, a tooth like this one, when you are trying to remove this this dentinal triangle, what will happen that if you insert a 8% taper file, 8% is very thick. Just to compare, if you insert that wide file here, yes, it will remove your dentinal triangle, yes, but it will also remove tooth structure or dentin from this thin coronal area too. And what will happen is that if you use that orifice opener carelessly, you will end up losing tooth structure from this side and eventually weakening the tooth. And more aggressive use might actually open, it's called stripping, strip the coronal area. So you have to be very careful. There is also one danger, because with endomotor you can use a brushing motion to engage the outer wall, but with hand, while you are using the file with your hand, it's difficult to force the file to the outer curvature. So if you're using rotary files with hand, the furcal area being in danger is really high, so you have to keep that in mind too. In such case, if you think that there is a chance that you may actually damage the furcal area, or there is a furcal danger, you can actually switch to smaller taper files. So the pro taper I showed you earlier is 6% taper. These are 6% taper. The normal hand files we use are 2% taper, but in between there is also another file system that are 4% taper. These 4% taper file are actually like a middle ground. With 6% taper, you remove a lot of tooth structure. In exchange, you get better penetration of your irrigation solution, but you lose a lot of tooth structure, especially coronally. But with 4%, it's best of both worlds. You remove little less tooth structure, and you also get decent amount of irrigation solutions inside the canals. Yeah, that's about it. These are some things that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if these will be much helpful to you, but those are some things, key points I think you have to keep in mind during deroofing, locating canals, and removing the dentinal triangle. I know it's not much, but even if someone finds it useful, that was the whole plan. Okay, if you find it useful, consider subscribing to the channel, and we will meet in another video perhaps. If you want me to discuss in any particular topic, mention in the comments. I will try my best to talk about that in future. Thank you.